What is up, bros and broettes? I'm Inkslasher, and today we're going to be once again talking about Black Ops 4. Today we're going to be looking at all of the perks in the game. So, just like any other Call of Duty, there is your first tier perks, second tier, and finally third tier. The difference with this game is there's also a new perk. I'm calling it the L1 perk, because generally speaking, it's related to the stim or heal ability in Black Ops 4. So we're also going to be going over those perks as well, along with your normal perks that you would normally see in Call of Duty. So the thing is here is I'm not allowed to show you any menu screens. That was just one of the rules that they told us when we recorded gameplay. But if I edit out a picture, I can show you that. So what I'm going to do is just edit out the image of the perk and then read the description to you, tell you what it does, and how it's going to change the gameplay, that kind of thing. So we're going to start out here with the first tier perks, and these are your blue perks. These are the perks in the first perk slot. So in the build of the game that we played, in the first perk slot, there were 4 perks that we were able to use. At release of the game, there's definitely going to be more, but that's all we could see so far. And the first one you're looking at here is Engineer. Now what this one does is it shows enemy equipment and score streaks. So this is similar to something we've seen before in Call of Duty. Basically, you can see enemies' equipment and score streaks through walls. It will glow in red. Definitely something we've seen before in Call of Duty games. Really nothing special there. The next perk, this one's pretty obvious. It's Flak Jacket. Once again, similar to something we've seen before in Call of Duty, but with a little bit of a difference. So this protects you, or you take less damage from enemies' explosives, fire, and radiation. So explosives is anything like grenades or anything that explodes. Fire is something like Purifier, the flamethrower. And finally, radiation. This is the interesting one. This is one that generally does damage over time, kind of like a Guardian from Black Ops 3. An example of this is actually Torque's Barricade. Torque's Barricade lets out radiation around it, so anyone near it takes damage over time. So if you're using Flak Jacket, it prevents that from happening to you. The next one here is Resistance. This one's a really weird perk. This one protects you from 9-bangs, concussions, razor wire, and counter UAVs. So kind of a poor man's Flak Jacket. It doesn't really protect you from any damage, but rather something like a tactical grenade, like the 9-bang concussion grenade, razor wire, and then counter UAV. If the enemy calls it in, you still get to keep your UAV. Basically, that's how this perk works. It's an odd one. It's an odd combination of things to protect you against, but that's what Resistance does. And the last perk one, this one's pretty simple. This is Cold-Blooded. Once again, something we've definitely seen in Call of Duty before. And all this one does is make you resistant to score streak targeting systems. Basically, if there's a gunship, you won't show up on it. Or if the enemy has a sentry gun, it won't target you. Basically, it makes you resistant to targeting score streaks. The one thing that this doesn't protect you from is UAV, and we'll kind of see the opposition to that in a later perk coming up here. Next up, we've got our Tier 2 perks. These are your green perks. Once again, we got to see 4 of these. And again, there will probably be more at the release of the game. Now, the perk 2s generally seem to be based off of movement and map navigation. You'll see what I mean by that when we go through all of the perks. So, to start things off, we've got Scavenger. Once again, a perk that's been in many Call of Duty games. This replenishes ammo from fallen players. Basically, they drop a Scavenger pack. You can pick it up, get more ammo. We've seen this many times. So the next perk here, this is actually one of the most interesting ones out of all of them that I've seen, and this one is Dexterity. So, this one, you mantle, climb, slide, and swap weapons faster. Also, you get increased weapon accuracy when jumping or mantling. This one sounds like an incredibly good perk. It's going to make you navigate the map much faster, and on top of that, we now know when you are jumping or mantling, you can shoot your weapon. In other words, you can hip fire your weapon. What this means is your hip fire accuracy is going to be better while doing these things. This is going to be an awesome perk for something like an SMG, where you can literally jump fire at your enemies, and it will kind of improve how good you are at that. To me, this is a really interesting perk. I think it's going to be a really good one. The next perk here, Gung Ho, once again a perk we've seen in many Call of Duties. The description of it is fire your weapon and use equipment while sprinting. Also, you recover from sprinting faster, and finally, move at full speed when reloading. The only thing that doesn't make direct sense in that one is recover from sprinting faster. I thought there was unlimited sprint in the game, so I don't think it's talking about that. More so, I think it's talking about sprint out time. Basically, the time it takes to go from sprinting to shooting is going to be much faster, if not 0 with this perk. So I believe that that's what it's talking about, not necessarily how fast you can go from sprinting to recovering to sprinting again. Because like I said, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think there's unlimited sprint in the game. At least that's what it felt like to me. And finally, once again, a perk that has to do with sprinting, we have Lightweight. This one's simple, move faster, and take no damage when falling. Absolutely a perk we've seen before in Call of Duty, and I really don't think we need any more of a description with it. And then the last of the regular perks is Perk 3. These are the red perks, and these ones are just all really odd. They don't seem to relate to each other. But the first one we got here is called Reveal. This one increased the Fog of War reveal radius for self and teammates. So as we've talked about before, the Fog of War is the kind of new mechanic to do with the mini-map. Basically, near you and your teammates, the map lights up and kind of reveals the area. The rest of the map where you aren't is kind of the fog. The map appears dark. We're still kind of unsure exactly how it works, but once we get our hands on the game a little bit more, we'll definitely explore that more. But as of right now, that is what Reveal does. It makes the area revealed by you and your teammates a little bit larger, something that is 100% new to Black Ops 4 and has never been in a Call of Duty game before. The next one we got here is Dead Silence, and this one actually introduces something a little bit new. So Dead Silence, you move quietly and resist the detection from the acoustic sensor. So first of all, the move silently part, this is awesome in game modes like Search and Destroy, which, by the way, I think is going to be fantastic in Black Ops 4. I think it's going to be really, really good. And then the second part is resist detection from acoustic sensor. The acoustic sensor is something that's kind of new in Black Ops 4. Basically, it's an L1 perk that we're going to talk about in a little bit, and it's a combination of two things that we've seen before in Call of Duty, both Sixth Sense and Awareness. So Dead Silence kind of blocks against those two things. Next, we got what I believe to be the worst perk in the game, and it is called Team Link. Now, Team Link I have talked about in a previous video because I think it's so weird, but basically what this perk allows you to do is see friendly teammates through walls, which really doesn't make any sense because you can already see your teammates on the minimap, and you can kind of just get a pretty good idea by just looking around. But the real reason for having this perk is because if you are playing the healer specialist character, you are actually able to heal people through walls. So basically, the only circumstance where this perk is actually at all helpful is if you are playing as the healer. Next up, and the final perk 3 is Ghost, and this one I think is going to be pretty decent, but they've also made some changes to it. So with Ghost, you are undetectable by enemy UAVs while moving, but also while planting or defusing bombs or controlling score streaks. Also, there is reduced reveal time on enemy sensor darts and vision pulse. So sensor darts and vision pulse are both perks that Recon, the specialist character, has. Basically, they reveal you through walls for the enemy team, and basically you're revealed for less periods of time if you are using the Ghost perk. So it helps with that, but also helps with not showing up on UAVs if you're moving, planting a bomb, or using a score streak. And I actually think that's a pretty good buff for it, because before, if you stood still at all, you would be revealed on the UAV. So if you were playing the objective and planting a bomb in, let's say, Search and Destroy, you were punished for that. And I don't think that's necessarily fair, so I actually think that the buff to Ghost in this game is actually pretty decent. As far as the wild cards in this game, they're pretty much exactly the same as they've been in Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3. The only difference is you have Underkill, which allows you to have two secondary weapons, and Gluttony, which allows you to make all three of your perks a first tier perk, or all three of your perks a second tier perk or a third tier perk. It's pretty useless if you ask me, because as far as the perks we've seen, there's really only one or two in each class that are really worth using, so I think the Gluttony kind of wild card won't be used too much. And then finally we have our L1 perks. I'm referring to them as that because I don't really know what else to call them. Other people are calling them equipment, but I've actually used all of these except for one of them. So I'm not quite sure what one of them does, but I'll still read you all of them and kind of explain all of them. The first of which is what you're seeing here is the acoustic sensor. We kind of talked about this before, but basically this perk is a combination of awareness and sixth sense. So first of all, enemy footsteps are louder, and second of all, when enemies get close to you, there's a kind of an indicator that appears on your minimap and makes you aware that someone is nearby. The next L1 ability or piece of equipment, whatever you want to call it, is the Comsec Device. This gives you a discount on score streaks. For example, the gunship, which was the highest score streak we could possibly use, was worth 1,500 score. If you're using the Comsec Device, it only costs 1,200 score. So it makes it a little bit easier to get various score streaks. So, once again, a pretty good perk. Now the next one is equipment charge, and this is the only one on the list I did not use. What I'm assuming it does is allows your specialist abilities to actually charge faster, so you can use them a little bit more in game. Out of all of these different perks we see here, I think the 3 we've talked about so far are the weakest, and the next 2 are incredibly good. So next up we've got Stim Shot, and this is by far the most powerful perk in the game. What this allows you to do is heal instantly and more often while maintaining control of your weapon. So normally the way health works in Black Ops 4 is you have 150 health. If you take damage, you can stab yourself with a stim, and basically this allows you to heal yourself back to 150 health, and on top of that it takes about 5 to 7 seconds based on how much damage it's done to you. After you've healed yourself, there's then about a 7-second cooldown period before you can heal yourself again. However, if you are using Stim Shot, if you stab yourself with that needle, it basically heals you instantly in about 1 second. And on top of that, you can then stab yourself again with the needle in about another second, so it recharges quicker as well. On top of that, you can maintain control of your weapon and shoot while stabbing yourself with the needle. It's an incredibly good perk. I think they're going to have to tone it down, and I think the best way to do so would simply make it so it doesn't help with the cooldown of the Stim Shot. It only makes your character heal faster, if that makes sense. And then the final perk we have to look at is called Body Armor. Now, a lot of people are comparing this to Juggernaut. It's not really Juggernaut. Basically, the way it works is every time you spawn in or respawn, you're going to have a body armor on, or a ballistic vest. It doesn't give you more health, but what it does is decrease the incoming damage. Essentially, what it does is it gives you 50 extra health until the damage has been done to you. Once that 50 damage has been done to you, that is gone for the rest of your life. So it's only initial damage upon respawning. I think it's a little bit annoying since not every player is going to have it, and it will just, I think people are going to get annoyed by it, but that is what body armor does. It's not a constant Juggernaut. It's not constant extra health like Juggernaut was in previous Call of Duty games. But guys, that is all of the perks, at least that we know of as of right now in Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Let me know what you think. Let me know what's missing. Let me know what you think are the best perks down in the comments below. As always, I'll be reading all the comments, trying to respond to some of them. Also, if you enjoyed the video, as always, it's super greatly appreciated if you hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, want to stay up to date on all my videos and everything Black Ops 4, it'd be awesome if you could hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button to stay up to date on everything. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, guys, peace out.